Hello and welcome to Transplanar RPG. We are an all-transgender, person of color-led, dark fantasy actual play channel featuring homebrew stories that center non-colonial, anti-orientalist world-building and campaigns about queerness, grief, hope, and the power of love. GODKILLER, First Blood is a 16-part podcast miniseries that follows a mythic, violent, and transformative tale about a single mortal rising against the challenges of the divine. Tonight, your god is me, Connie Chong, and my god killer is C. Thomas. First Blood is a dark fantasy series that explores themes that may be triggering for some listeners.
Content warnings for this episode may include fantasy violence, gore, body horror, blood, classism, poverty, religious imagery, grief, trauma, ghosts, and mentions of heights, falling, cannibalism, child labor, and suffocation.
Episode 6 Odyssey. Splattering down from the heavens in a torrential crimson waterfall is the blood rain of Iron 42. Visible for miles, it pours from the desiccated remnants of the river in the dead sky like rusty water leaking from a cracked vase. The noise is enormous. Crimson rain pelts the tin roofs of Iron 42, the howling screams of blood ghosts mix with the desperate shrieking of their victims. And the smell. Gore, rust, butchered veins, and broken marrow. Cresting over the lip of Iron 42, completely drenched in blood, is you, Rune. Rexha's keys are cold and hard and sharp in your hand. As you scan the surface of your home, you see a familiar, flattened, bombed-out city made of collapsed buildings and narrow paths carved from debris. There are broken things everywhere. Broken glass, broken stone, broken spirits. A toppled skyscraper lies parallel to the ground some 50 meters ahead of you, a hole blasted out of the 33rd floor. That hole is covered by a thin sheet of corrugated metal, and you know that metal to be concealing Rexha's ride. Staggering out of Iron 42 beside you are the Speaker and the Champion of the Above. Both of them are as red as murder. Eos's greatsword is drawn and she slashes down and back behind her, warding off a contingent of blood ghosts clambering their way up the sides of the pit town as they pursue you with bloody fingers. And the Champion now shouts over her shoulder, "My lady! The carriage! The horses!" And the Speaker looks terrified and miserable as she responds, I don't know where they are. They were here. We left them right here. But the blood, the ghosts, they must have run off.
Horses don't even exist anymore. This way.
What? What?
This way, I said.
The Speaker and the Champion need no further prompting. They turn around and begin hurrying down this blasted surface area of Iron 42, following you toward that sheet of metal. Behind your group, you can hear the howling of blood ghosts and you can hear their claws scything against the dirt as they scrabble to their feet. Maybe a half a dozen of them are able to crawl their way out of the pit as well and pursue the three of you.
Rune's heart is thundering in their chest as they're running, but they are running with all of the speed that they have in them. Over the glass, over the rubble, over the concrete, hoisting, and under their breath they're going 33 green, 33 green, 33 green. The 33rd floor of the building that fell on Green Street. Which is where they know Rexha's car, baby, is hiding. And as soon as they get to that corrugated piece of sheet metal, they start ripping at it so hard that I think they cut their palms. But they tear at it with all the force that they have left in their body.
Yeah, you are wrenching this thing. It, I think, is deceptively heavy looking. It's mostly visually to ward off potential looters, and it blends in perfectly with the scene of debris all around you. You wrench that sheet off of its hinges, it like clatters off against a chunk of broken stone, and there it is. Baby. Rexha's car. It is a stolen and repurposed swords munitions wagon, 20,000 pounds of polycarbonate thermoplastic and composite armor. She's got 6 wheels, a brand new paint job, and you know that she seats at least 3 in the front. And I think you see that huge wheel cover of its front left tire is perfect width for you to just stomp your boot onto and haul yourself up to the driver's side seat.
Yeah, Rune does it like it's second nature. They get up, they haul that first door open, and then they slam their elbow into the horn so it goes brrrr. And I assume that Antigone and Eos are not far behind me, but Rune is looking for them, looking for any blind spots, and I think they take out one of their long knives, which is dangling by its chain at the edge of their hip, and they toss it into the face of one of these blood ghosts that is hurrying a little bit too close behind Eos.
Yes, exactly. Eos and Antigone are basically right on your heels. They're maybe only 10 feet behind you tops. But yeah, you hurl that long knife. It slices between Antigone and Eos and pierces the forehead of a blood ghost that Eos is like wrestling with. I think it had like gotten past her guard of the greatsword and is trying to like grab at her face with its long claws. But then your knife comes whirling out of nowhere, knocks it in the head. It like falls back like it's been shot by a bullet, and it splashes onto the ground and decorporealizes.
Rune wrenches the sword back via the chain, and the chain slides through their fingers very quickly, very deftly, even as they're still coated in this blood rain. And they shout, "Get in now!"
Yeah, there's a noise like as the chain comes right back through your hands, and you pull yourself into the front seat area of Baby. Yeah, Eos is there, Antigone is there. Eos grabs Antigone and like bodily shoves her up and like into the car, like past you. I think you're able to like shove her into the middle seat.
Yeah, Rune just grabs onto the front of her robe and wrenches her past their body into the middle seat.
She lets out a, what? Stop, just, behind you! And Eos turns around and slashes her sword. I think maybe at the same time as you also have a hair trigger reaction to that?
Yeah, Rune's sword is already out of their hand.
Yeah, both of your blades whirl through the air and bisect a blood ghost that was just about to grab onto Eos's cape. And its head pops off from your sword, and its torso moves away from its legs from Eos's slash, and it splashes onto the ground into 3 puddles. Eos hoists herself up onto the wheel cover and like climbs over you and Antigone to get to like the right side passenger seat.
There is a door on the other fucking side.
We don't have time.
And Rune floors it before she's even in her seat.
Yeah, Eos and Antigone are kind of thrown backward. I don't even think you have your seatbelt on, and I think your door might even be kind of ajar as soon as you floor it.
It definitely is.
Yes.
Eos's ass is like fully in Rune's face still when they floor it.
No, yeah,
like she's still crawling over them, but they floor it.
100%. Baby roars to life, headlights flick on and cut these 2 strong beams in front of you, and you see like no fewer than half a dozen blood ghosts trying to crawl onto the hood. They're trying to splash themselves onto the windshield. As soon as you accelerate, they like splat like massive crimson bugs just turn into liquid in front of the windshield. And Eos, as she continues to clamber to the passenger side seat, she kicks her leg up and flicks one of the knobs at your side, and the windshield wipers turn on, wiping off the blood to give you a better field of view. And I think you're able to like slam the door shut right as a blood ghost is sticking its hand through the crack, and you sever its hand from its limb, and blood just splashes onto your leg from the side. Not like it's adding much to you because you're already drenched in crimson.
Yeah, there are layers to the things that are coating Rune right now. And I think as the red starts to drip off of their shoulders, it reveals that bright, iridescent gold underneath.
Yeah, Athamos' blood. Rune, you floor the gas. You whip Rexha's armored mini-truck around tight corners, you gun down boulevards, you speed past the landfill, and you start to hurtle onto a dirt path that's heading due east out of Iron 42. And in the side view mirror, this entire time, the hole that is your home becomes smaller and smaller and smaller until it too becomes swallowed by detritus and dust. And every single foot, every single meter, every single quarter mile you take farther away from Iron 42, you see that huge vertical torrential waterfall of crimson rain. Lighten. It like lets up, it stops pouring down so hard, and by the time you're past the landfill, it's just a trickle in the distance of your mirror, and then it is gone.
The urge to look back in the mirror rises in Rune's chest, but they fight it. They fight it tooth and claw, nail and sword, and they don't look back. They can't look back. They don't let themselves look back because they know that the second that their eyes flick up into that rearview mirror, they are going to turn the car around and they are going to go back. And they can't. And they know they can't because that feeling that had been crawling up in the inside of their chest, that feeling of falling, is starting to leave them. It no longer is pulling at the inside of their ribs. It's not burning them from the inside out as they feel themselves getting further and further away from the curse that Athamos had just laid upon them.
Yeah. I think Antigone is looking through both of the mirrors on your side and on Eos's side, kind of obscuring your view of the windshield, and then she leans over Eos and looks, and then she leans over your side and looks, and then over Eos's side and looks. She is like a frenetic little white moth, right? Fluttering, fluttering, fluttering inside this room. You hear her mutter to herself, "Oh, okay. I think that's the last of the ghosts. Did you see that, Eos? They just turned into puddles. They just dematerialized, they decorporealized entirely as we left, which means you're no longer in active violation of your curse, which means we're safe, which means we're safe for now, which means we should be safe for now, which means what happened?" And she turns and looks at you full in the face. You can feel her coal black eyes boring into you from the side. What happened?
Rune ignores her completely and takes one hand off of the wheel and taps the black metal glove compartment in front of Eos's knees. Map.
Eos pops it open without a second question, and there's all kinds of stuff in the glove compartment, but it's very well organized. Rexha kept a very neat car, and there's like folders, files, and they're all labeled. Eos pulls a translucent folder out, opens it up, and unfolds this huge, unwieldy, kind of ancient paper map. This isn't a hollow screen or anything. This was written on with ink, right? Now she starts to unfold it all over the dashboard and over her legs and Antigone's legs. The speaker continues to look at you. She does not turn away from you, doesn't even acknowledge the map. What happened?
I don't know. I need to drive.
Okay, well, you can drive and talk. We need to backtrack. We need to go back to the beginning to find the answers.
We can't go back.
No, we're not going to go back physically. I just mean in time. I just mean in time, because what we saw, what happened at the bottom of that hellhole, it can't have happened. It makes no sense to have happened, which means we have to go back to the place when it did make sense, which is the devil. And her eyes fly open as she was trying to recount this with her eyes closed. They fly open and fix onto you once more. The devil.
Rune can't help but flinch when she says his name. This morning they were able to hide it, but right now they don't. Their whole body flinches away from her as she says the devil.
Yeah, whether she clocked it or not is perhaps less of a concern in the face of her awe-consuming, frenetic energy. This is a speaker who is the opposite of the, composed, rather condescending speaker you met earlier. Today? That's right. Earlier today. It's only been a day. This Antigone is one with eyes that are a little too wide, a kind of scholarly mania, overlapping with barely concealed terror, overlapping with rationalization. And she goes on and talks and says, "That's right, the devil. And every time she says the devil is like a jab, I think, into your solar plexus. You dodged my questions this morning.
Yeah, and what about it?
Clearly you know something about the devil because no mortal has their hands." And then her eyes fly down to your hands. They were smoking. Rune, are your hands smoking?
They're about to start smoking.
Uh-huh.
As their knuckles go white over the steering wheel, and Rune has leant closer and closer and closer to the steering wheel until their chest is nearly pressed up against it now as the speaker is leaning over them and asking these questions that Rune doesn't know the answer to, isn't able to give the answer to. They don't know, and their fingers clench really hard, willing her to stop asking questions.
Yeah, she does not pick up on that, and if she does not care. Mm-hmm. It is a grain of tiny little salt in the massive oceanic wave of her anxiety. It just, she washes right over it and goes on to say, "You clearly have some kind of thing going on with you that is almost definitely related to the devil, because it can't not be related to the devil. And what happened down at the bottom of the pit also must have been related to the devil, because there is no other explanation, because a mortal cannot kill a god."
And I think the truck is, for the first time since they got in it, kind of quiet. this silence ekes out for a long time as Rune doesn't acknowledge that statement. They don't hum in approval. They don't reject it outright. And it's just the purr of the motor along this horrid dirt road as Rune makes a hard left out of this labyrinthian maze that makes up the outskirts of Iron 42. And unbidden, a memory of that deep voice, the shark-like one that swims underneath all the others. The devil's voice, a word they had never heard before, that they didn't understand.
GODKILLER.
Make them pay. And I think unbidden, that phrase comes out of Rune's mouth. Make them pay.
Excuse me?
Nothing. Yes.
Make who pay?
I don't know.
What? Are you threatening
I don't know.
me?
No.
Are you threatening me right now?
No, I'm trying to drive.
Eos, your blade. My lady? Just, what? Okay. What did you do to Athamos?
Rune frantically looks over the road as though it's going to give them some kind of answer.
And the hateful, bitchy road gives you none.
Rune briefly considers doing a donut and seeing if the truck will roll over and maybe they'll all just die. They think better of it. I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
No, you're going to have to give me something better than you don't know.
What if I don't have anything better?
Okay. Listen, heretic. That's right. My champion told me about your proclivities, but we'll get to that later.
Did she also tell you that she dropped me down a hole to die?
No, she told me about your failed pursual and how the two of you had a tussle on some kind of rope bridge and then you fell over. What matters? And she looks like frenzied and manic when she says this. Like her perfectly manicured hair is a little all over the place at this point, and she's drenched in blood, but she hasn't noticed yet, you think? She looks at you. What matters is that you clearly have some kind of connection to the devil. First of all, you are a terrible liar. Just abjectly awful. One of the worst.
I'm not lying.
You are hiding something from me. There is something more going on than you're letting on about the devil. Even if you don't know him by his godly name, you clearly have some kind of relationship to him beyond just, oh, I'm just a mortal heretic down here and I don't know anything. Well, clearly you do, because regular mortal people don't bleed from their eyes and survive falls into quarter-mile deep holes.
Okay, you want to know what I know? And Rune slams on the brakes so hard that I think all of them fly forward a little bit, and they turn to look at Antigone in the face for the first time. Theirs drenched with red and golden blood. You want to know what I know? I know that the devil is a fucking liar. I know that the devil goes back on his words, that he does not honor his bargains. I know that he fucked me over and he fucked over every single person that I ever loved. And then he left. So no, I don't know where the devil is. I don't know why you fucking came knocking at my door, and I don't know why your fucked up God keeps showing you my face instead of the devil's. I don't know what happened with Athamos. I don't know what happened at the bottom of that fucking pit. But if you cannot help me, then I will kick you out of this fucking car myself right here and right now. Because the only reason that I am still driving is so that I can go home. Is so that you can do whatever kind of, and Rune gestures vaguely, curse work. That you can lift it from me, and then I'll go home.
Silence. Antigone breathing hard and heavy. Eos with her arm thrown over the speaker's chest to prevent her from getting jolted when you slammed on the brakes. Both of these Citadel denizens staring at you. Eos's eyes hard, sullen, withdrawn, cold, unreadable, with an edge of, what is that, violence? Antigone's face shocked, open, and then just like that she closes it. Her eyes, her face, then opens them back up, and she is leagues closer to that composed woman you met earlier today. Like, your outburst is what, weirdly enough, centers her. Fine. Yes, I am here to lift the curse that Athamos put on you so you can go back to Iron 42. I think that would be the best outcome for everyone in this vehicle.
And what about the other curse? The one that you came to my door looking for.
I didn't know it was a curse, but based on what you said, it sounds like you had struck a deal with the devil, fool that you are, and that it went wrong, that it went bad.
Rune's jaw clenches, but they don't disagree.
If that's the case, the Six will be able to help. The witness, perhaps even the judge, he knows his way around legalese almost as well as the devil, if not better. We can help. We'll have resources, we'll have power, we will have people at the Citadel who can help. I just can't do it here, not on the road. Not so close to that place.
There's silence for a moment, as Rune's mismatched gaze flicks from Antigone's face to Eos's, back to Antigone's, with this kind of intensity that is barely restrained. Like Rune is hanging on by a thread, and if they get pushed one more time, they are going to snap. Then you hold the map. And Rune settles back into the driver's seat and presses the gas again.
Antigone holds the map. She settles back into her seat, looks down at her body, and you get the sense from your peripheral vision that maybe for the first time she's realizing that her robes are stained. Like in a real way, she's actually taking registry of her physical body. And then she glances over at you. And there is a moment, a pause there, as the speaker's gaze hangs on you, where you get the sense that she knows. She knows that you are one push away from snapping. And she has so many more questions, so many more curiosities, so many more anxieties that are just brimming behind her teeth, waiting to be unleashed at you. But for the first time since entering this car, she relents. She turns her gaze down to the map and nods. The road to the Citadel is long, winding, and a little bit less than frenetic. You press the gas out of Iron 42. You press the gas through the empty neighborhoods that link cities, the connective tissue comprised of fallen buildings and vine-choked alleys. You press the gas for 15 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 4, 6, until the dead star in the sky begins to dim. You press the gas until the buildings that flip past the bulletproof windows are no longer squat and gray and rusted, but tall and greasy and churning long pylons of smoke out of oily chimneys. And Rune, by the time evening comes, you find yourself driving through Refinery 19, a factory town of oil silos and wide-mouthed factory plants. You drive. Eos takes up the window seat, her greatsword stashed vertically between her legs. Antigone continues to consult the map, even though the last bit of direction is to just keep driving for the next 30 miles until you have to hit an exit. She still stares at it, gripping its edges, crinkling the paper like it's a prayer book. And for these past 6 hours, barring that initial outburst you had, very few words are exchanged between the three of you. As the star in the sky continues to dim, and the stench of oil refineries starts to fill the vehicle, what's on your mind?
Nothing. As much nothing as Rune can shove into their brain. They push away any thought that isn't the mechanical necessity of driving. They don't even look at their hands clenched on the steering wheel, coated in blood. They just drive. And they force themselves not to look in the rearview mirror, not to look back. They just need to keep driving. They just keep driving. Eventually they could turn around and come home.
You continue to drive for what feels both like no time at all and forever. But enough time does pass that you realize Antigone's slim body is kind of slumped in a relaxed fashion, and you realize, I think from your peripheral, that she has fallen asleep while consulting the map. And as Baby continues to putter along, I think, this kind of elevated roadway, you see out to your right, past Eos's window, like a long, sloping hill of desiccated grass before it hits a very long chain link fence, beyond which is like acres and acres and acres of these factories. Rekja's car, Baby, fits right in. The horizon to your right, is an oscillating line of chemical plants, skyscrapers, and chimneys chugging smoke. You're gonna be driving through Refinery 19 for a while, and it's around now that your eye is drawn to the dash as you see a light blink open. You're running low on gas.
As the light comes down, Rune's eyes flick to it, and their jaw sets a little bit, and their fingers curl a little tighter against the wheel as they try to do an inventory of what's inside baby.
You know that there is a map in the glove compartment. You also know that there should be some extra oil canisters in the back.
Okay, that bodes well. And I think for the first time since the drive began, Rune's eyes start to flick sideways a little bit, not at either of their traveling companions, but out the side windows, starting to notice Refinery 19, a neighboring district that I think Rune has been to several times. I think it's fairly common for heretics to travel outside of Iron 42, especially on mission, and this is one of the places that Rune has been fairly frequently picking up supplies on behalf of Rekja. So I think at this point they might actually be looking for any like oil deposit safe houses that are friendly to heretics, or any kind of shelter that may be familiar. And if they're not seeing any, they're just gunning it to get out of Refinery 19 before they need to stop for gas.
To your left, up ahead, maybe at this point 100, 200 feet away, you see what looks like maybe a little break in the road and like a little fork branching offward to the left that feeds into what appears to be a clutch of abandoned warehouses. There's a broken chain link fence. That might be a nice place to pull off and refuel.
Yeah, I think without saying anything, Rune approaches that turn and makes it, probably jostling everyone a little bit on the inside because they're not a spectacular driver and th're going really fast.
No.
And they have been going really fast.
You certainly don't use your turn signal.
No, absolutely not. Rune is like, what even is that for? I don't know her. But yeah, they fully just take the turn without consulting the map or Antigone or Eos.
Yeah. Antigone has her seatbelt on, Eos does not. So she bounces a little and Eos tightens her grip on the hilt of her sword as she looks up from the window she was gazing out of. Where are we going? This isn't the road.
We need to refuel. We have gas in the back, but you can't refuel out on the roads here. It's an invitation to get your shit stolen. Rune drives their way into the warehouses off of the road, far enough to not be seen by any other travelers that may be coming by this way.
Yeah, I think you park in the shade of a kind of tall storage unit, and you are quite confident that no one driving on the road will be able to see the mini truck. Like, you are several dozen feet into this grid of warehouses.
Rune pulls up into the shade of one of these huge abandoned warehouses and brings baby to a kind of rumbling stop. They try really hard not to look at Eos as they fumble with the keys and pull their way out of the truck, wrenching their body out of the stressed position that it had been in for the last 6 hours.
Without saying a word, Eos follows you out. Her boots thud against the ground as she trails like an angry shadow toward the back hitch of the armored mini-truck. And you both go around to where the gas area is as you kind of pop open like the back.
Yeah, this is kind of like a cross between an armored truck and a caravan RV, but like post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
So there's like a paint job, and I think Rune trails their fingers over the side of the hitch, which I think has the word baby carved into it in Rekja's handwriting.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
And Rune's fingers kind of like trail over it before they pop it open and climb inside looking around for the gas canisters.
As you and Eos pull open the back doors, you see gas canisters, a few cardboard boxes that are taped over, a couple of cases of what you recognize as bullets. And why don't you roll me 1d6?
4.
Oh my god, okay. I said it, and 4 weapons.
Oh,
yeah. There are 2 handguns and 2 small grenades.
Nice. I think they're like hitched up on the wall.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think there are also seats in here where heretic agents would sit while Rekja was driving.
Absolutely. There are other hooks on the walls as well, and like outlines and frames for where larger guns would have gone, but they're not here. There are just the 2 handguns and the 2 grenades.
Yeah. I imagine that everyone who was fighting in Iron 42 came to get their weaponry.
Absolutely. Actually, Eos sees all of this as well, and without asking or saying anything, she gets into the back, and like the back of the caravan kind of like groans and creaks as this huge woman enters, and she takes both of the handguns off of the wall, and she starts rifling through the ammunition case.
Rune looks at her sideways for half a second, but doesn't say anything about it, and moves to continue trying to find the gas canisters. But I think they pick up the 2 grenades and hook them onto their belt.
Yeah, without looking over her shoulder to glance at you as you do that, she says, "You sure you know how to handle those?"
It's my truck, isn't it?
I just ask that you don't actually have them on you while we drive. That would be a very inconvenient way to die.
Well, you're in charge of getting them if we need them.
Fine. And without looking at you again, she holds out a hand.
Rune tosses her the grenades.
Not throwing her the grenades. Yeah, good thing they're not live. She catches both of them, and finally at that gives you a stern look over her shoulder.
Rune meets it distrustfully.
Eos holds your gaze for half a second and then stows the grenades away somewhere on her armor, and then you see her like start to load both of the handguns.
Rune picks up the gas canister and feels it. It's probably like half empty. They could get maybe half a day to a day's ride with this. And they frown a little bit. It's less than they were expecting, I think.
Yeah, there are 4 canisters total, but 3 of them are completely empty, and the one that you found is half full.
Rune briefly considers if it was their job to get gas recently, but they cannot remember. So instead, I think they just kind of hop out of the back while Eos is still loading the handgun and go around to start fueling.
Eos follows you like half a second later, and she closes the door to the mini truck and like latches it as usual. As you start to approach the gas door, she puts a hand on your shoulder. I'll do it.
Rune shrugs out of her grasp and pins her with this kind of intense stare. And they don't really have the will to argue with her right now. So I think they just shove the half-full canister into her hands, and then they grab one of the like rope sides of Baby, and they climb up on top of the truck to keep watch.
Would you like to do as you're told?
Yeah, I guess so.
When you do as you're told, you say how you showed submission and answer 1. It's a mortal move, so I will show you a glimpse of their true intentions as I answer the other. I think you've already said how you showed submission, so you just get to answer one of the 2 questions. And they are, how are you rewarded, or what vulnerability do you reveal?
I think the vulnerability that shines through in Rune as they shove this gas can into this giant woman's hands is that they are not equipped to handle this, especially not on their own. Whatever is happening with them, whatever all of this was, whatever just happened in Iron 42 is out of the ordinary, and it has shaken them deeply to their core. So whatever kind of front that they're putting on, like they know what they're doing, this is normal, par for the course, it's not. And I think that Eos would be able to see right through them.
Yeah, you're able to very easily clamber your way to the top of Baby and keep a nice look out there. And you can hear Eos uncork the canister and start, like, pouring it in. She lets out a bit of a snort as she realizes how light it is and how, like, it's completely not full. A few beats pass, and then you hear Eos, as opposed to see her, say, "Is this the farthest you've been outside of your city limits?"
Not yet. Another hour or 2 and I'll probably be as far as I've been.
Eos grunts kind of non-committally and keeps loading the truck. A few more beats pass and then she says, "You know, my priority is protecting the speaker."
So you've said.
You know why I'm filling up this truck and not you?
Does it matter?
You're not supposed to smoke or play with open flames as you're refueling.
I think a silence stretches for a long moment as Rune feels that reality come over them. The fire that has stayed in their nightmares for so long, starting to force its way out of them in a way that they can't control. And their jaw sets again and they look over their shoulder.
In the darkness of the twilight, you can't make out Eos's face. You just sort of see her huge silhouette cutting a powerful figure in the darkness. Is that the first time you've been able to do that?
Which part?
All of it? Look, I don't know what happened down there, and I probably wouldn't even get it if you explained it to me. But I do need to know one thing. Have you ever killed someone before?
No.
Have you ever wanted to?
Plenty.
What stopped you? Rexha?
No. I just can't.
Were you trying to hurt your god?
I was trying to live. And I was angry.
Yeah. We saw, we heard. What he said, what you said, and then him eating you. The speaker was going to ask him to spit you out. We needed at least your corpse. But then what happened next? And Eos trails off. I don't understand. It's not possible.
I don't understand either. I just got so mad.
At only having 10 years left?
Yeah.
Why does that make you mad? And you hear a hint of genuine confusion in Eos's voice. She's not goading you or baiting you. She's genuinely not understanding why you're upset. And she goes on to say, if I learned I had 10 years left, my next question would be, how much longer does my lady have? And if it's longer than that, then I'll know that I will have fulfilled my role to its perfection, to die so that she might live. Other than that, there is really no reason for me to be alive. I exist because of her. What do you exist for, and why do you need longer than 10 years to live for it? Isn't life down in the mines hard enough? Isn't it nicer to die while you're young? You still got some fight in you? And again, this is not goading, not baiting. She's being genuine with this.
Rune peers down at her, kind of forgetting their role as lookout, to instead look down at Eos. And their brow knits a little bit. It's not just about only having 10 years left. It's the fact that he wanted every single year, and that all 10 years were not good enough for him. That it was a pittance, that it was nothing to him. But he wanted them anyway.
Huh. If any other mortal in the cradle had said what Athamos said to you, to me, I would have slain them where they stood. But he's a god. What can you do? Or I guess he was a god. And you did.
Rune lets that hang in the air for a moment. I don't know what I did. And they turn away from her.
You killed him. And those 3 words hang in the air tenuously between the two of you. They echo out into the shadows and are swallowed by the greasy smoke billowing from the hill to your right.
A mortal cannot kill a god.
I know. Doesn't change the fact that you did. I don't understand it either. I don't know how it's possible. That's what we're going to the Citadel to find out. To get answers. If anyone can find out answers to this mystery, it's my lady. Oh, you also survived the... And she gestures with her hand to mimic something falling.
Yeah, thanks for that, by the way.
Oh. I did what I thought was best given the information I had.
You dropped me.
You were a heretic. You still are a heretic. The Six say that heretics are just as bad as cannibals. All you do is seek to sow chaos, violence, and dissent throughout the cradle, and for what? Just to blow up a few shrines, desecrate a couple of monuments?
That's not what we do.
Then what do?
We feed people.
What?
We feed people.
You feed them what?
Food. We teach them how to bandage their own wounds so they don't have to pray to gods who won't hear them.
Eos blinks up at you, and I think the clouds move in such a way that the really, really dim starlight illuminates her expression, which is one of abject confusion. Almost even more confused than before when she was trying to figure out how you, a mortal, could have killed a god, learning what heretics actually do. Huh?
Rune's brow furrows now, but not in a, like, I don't trust you and you dropped me and we're mortal enemies way, but in a kind of like, is she for real right now kind of expression. We feed people.
But you kill people.
No. What?
What's with the car with the weapons in the back?
We stole this from a bunch of swords. The weapons were extra loot.
Yeah, that you used to do violence and stuff.
That we use to protect ourselves from cannibals because swords aren't posted this far out and we're close to the fringe. Against monsters and ghosts.
Hold on, wait. So you mean to tell me that you heretics go around the cradle in places where you're plentiful, and you just hand out free food and teach people how to bandage up their wounds and what? What else? Use guns?
Yeah. How to hunt? How to fight monsters?
Why? Why? The gods give all that to you. The gods protect the people of the cradle, or they're supposed to.
They're supposed to. But they don't. Not out here. They might in the Citadel. But not here. Do you think Athamos protected anyone from anything? He took years off of our lives. He let us die in the mines, inhaling rock dust, suffocating under landslides, cave-ins. Do you think he protected anyone? My first shift started when I was 14 years old. I left school when I was 10. Athamos didn't teach me to read. Heretics did.
Huh. Weren't any heretics where I grew up. Too close to the capital.
I thought you were a capitalite.
No, I didn't grow up in the Citadel. I grew up in Chemical 4.
Rune fixes her with a kind of absent openness, like they can't help their own mortal heart reaching out, crawling out of their ribcage toward her. We don't have any chemical districts out here. I've never seen one before, but I've heard about them. I heard there are labs and buildings that go up a lot taller than any of these here.
Well, you would have heard right. And I'm not surprised. Chemicals and lab cities make all kinds of products that wouldn't make sense to be shipped out all the way here. Usually for luxury goods, weapons, that sort of thing.
I hear they make poisons.
Yeah, poisons too. Antidotes as well.
Then how did you get into the Citadel?
Eos's face, lit by the moonlight of the dying star, closes up like a fist. Her jaw kind of sets, her mouth becomes a line, and then you hear the last bit of that oil. She withdraws the canister and turns her body away from you. She's filled up. Well, as much as she can be filled up with what little we had here. We're going to have to get some more oil on the way, but for now we can go.
Sensing her obvious reluctance to answer that direct question, Rune also sets their jaw a little bit and kind of comes back to themselves. Like that conversation had lured them into a sense of security that doesn't exist, and they come back to their own reality in this moment. And they stand up from where they had been sitting on top of the truck, give one final swivel around before hopping off and landing hard next to Eos. I don't even think they climb down, they just hop off the top of the truck. Their knees and their joints are used to those kind of long falls, and I think they land with a kind of feline grace down onto the ground.
Okay, sexy heretic.
Yeah.
With your feline grace.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm into it.
And they straighten up, give Eos a reproachful look from the side of their eye before heading over to the driver's side again.
I'll drive.
I thought you brought horses. Do you even know how to drive?
Of course I know how to drive. I also know how to drive horses, and I know how to ride.
Ride what?
Horses.
Horses are extinct.
Ah, right. That's what you would think out here. No, they're not. There are a few stables in the Citadel. The witness trotted them out for this fetch quest of ours. Obviously, we would have gone with a more modern mode of transportation if we knew that this would end up happening. It felt fitting at the time for him, I suppose. But the horses are gone now. They must have run off when the blood rain came.
Well, they're gonna freak somebody out.
It's fine. It's not our biggest problem or priority right now. Either way, I'm driving. You are exhausted and you need to rest.
I'm not exhausted, I'm fine.
You're trembling like a newborn bird.
Birds don't exist either.
Pit town dwellers. You're going to take my position in the car. I'm going to take yours. Give me the keys.
Rune gives her one more reproachful look before they hand over the keys. If you crash this car, I will never be forgiven, and I will haunt you for 10,000 years after I'm dead and gone.
What are you going to do as a ghost? Annoy me to death?
I might.
Oh yeah? Well, I'd like to see you try. I'm not going to crash this car. I've never crashed a car before.
Have you ever driven a car before?
Of course I have. Many times. I've ridden motorcycles as well.
Rune snorts and tries to look unimpressed and settles himself in the passenger side of the truck.
Yeah, Eos gets into the driver's seat, closes the door, right, starts the car back up, Antigone is fully asleep. She's like absolutely passed out while like sitting upright, and Eos like turns on the ignition, like the engine rumbles back to life, and she starts to drive baby down the road. Rune. You dream. You dream of a city street, as wide as space, as old as time. And the people on that street, so many people, dozens of people, hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions, they don't cramp the street. The street is ever expanding, it is infinite, it is forever, and it is never. All of these people walk in one direction down the street, and their pace is unhurried, it is relaxed, it is intentional. You, Rune, you stand on one side of the street and you watch the people walk. What emotions swirl through you?
I think in this dream there are no emotions. Rune doesn't even find themselves in a body, really. They know they're there, they know that they're standing, they know where they are in space. But the concept of self is kind of lost on them here. Z isn't really even a part of anything, they're just a part of this place. This transient space. They exist within it, a part of it. They can feel and hear and see every footstep from every angle. They know every face. And it's a kind of breathless, unexamined existence, completely in the moment, as they watch the dead walk through the street.
For some reason, Rune, this dream, this vision, feels more vivid, I think, than it ever has. And then a shadow falls over the people walking in one direction, as a massive, coiling, almost serpentine form rounds a corner and begins to float down the same direction as the street as everyone else, but dozens of feet above their head. And you see the corpse of Athamos, the Ten of Wands, the unsighing toil, float down this street in the same direction, like a parade banner, and there is a wound at the nape of his neck from where you exploded out of him.
That sensation of falling returns to Rune so fast that it nearly punches through their sternum. And all of a sudden, they are no longer a part of everything here, they are just existing inside of it. And it chills them all the way down to their bones. They can feel their whole body, their whole existence here, as fear takes hold inside of them as they watch Athamos.
Fear, you say?
Oh dear. Why did you...
You feel fear?
No. No, GM.
Yes, you did.
No, I don't.
Yes, you did.
No.
Okay.
Not fear.
Okay, yep.
Oh, God.
As soon as that first prickle of fear begins to bloom within your non-existent chest in this place, because you're right, you don't have a body here. You don't have a mind. You're just kind of here. You're just kind of witnessing. You're just kind of seeing. But as soon as you feel fear, you see a couple of the faces on the street closest to you turn to look in your direction. And the eyes of these ghosts, that's what they are, Rune. The eyes of these ghosts land perfectly on you. Some of them have an emotion close to curiosity, others look vaguely bored. One of the faces looks shocked. And then Athemos's massive dead form that is still writhing in fury and terror also turns in your direction like a hound smelling blood. And you see his face, which is the face of a man, right, with those bright, glowing crimson eyes, fix upon you. And you hear his voice resonate within your own lack of a mind in the space, and it says, You, God Killer, you. And Athemos starts to swim toward you. What do?
Rune wants to leave this place, but they don't know how. They don't know how to run. They don't know how to move in this body. They don't know how to move. They want to run. They want to slam back into their body and get out of here, but I don't think they know how. So this terror continues to mount and mount and mount and mount and mount as they are willing themselves out of here. Go, flee, run.
Yep. There is a terrified part of you, that is most of you right now, that is just trying to go, but you don't know how. Like, you don't know how to wake yourself up from this dream. It's like you're rooted there in the spot by this fear. And as Athemos's horrific, furious, hatred-filled voice continues to barrel towards you, God Killer, I will rend you limb from limb. You hear that other voice, that shark of a voice, that deep, anchoring voice underneath the frenzied piranhas of these hungry ghosts, the devil's voice. Oh, Rune. You can't let the river control you. You have to control it.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't understand.
Oh, but our time in this place is running out. I suppose this time you get a free pass. Saved by the chariot. Do tell her hello from me, why don't you?
What?
And Rune, you are jolted awake by a literal bump in the road that throws you upward, and it is your seatbelt in the passenger seat of Baby that catches you from just absolutely like smashing your head through the windshield. Your eyes fly open, and light is streaming through the windows as the star is starting to brighten in the sky, and you can just hear such a loud noise behind you. The revving of what sounds like 2 dozen engines and something really heavy rumbling the road all around you. And Eos in the driver's seat says, "Oh, good, you're awake. Yeah, the chariot is here." Godkiller First Blood is performed by Connie Chong and C. Thomas. Follow Connie on Twitter and TikTok at @byConnieChong and C on Twitter at CPlaysRPG. To play your very own campaign of Godkiller and support our show, pre-order Godkiller First Blood Edition on itch.io today. Transplanar RPG is made possible by your Patreon contributions and sponsors who believe in our mission to tell great stories and lift up our community. Sponsors like ExplainTrade.com. Explain Trade is a negotiation skills consultancy whose director, Dimitri Opines on Twitter, has asked us to say, and I quote, "Please sign up for Transplaner's Patreon because at some point people will figure out he's a cisgender white guy giving all his money to trans and queer art, and then he'll be too broke to sponsor us." We love you, Dimitri, and heed his words. Sign up for our Patreon today at patreon.com/transplanerrpg. First Blood is also sponsored by Start Playing Games, the largest online platform for players to find tabletop role-playing campaigns of your very own. Join a table that fits your schedule today at startplaying.games. We are also sponsored by Magpie Games, the independent TTRPG publisher behind such incredible works as Masks: A New Generation, Avatar Legends, Urban Shadows, Bluebeard's Bride, and much, much more. Check out their amazing selection of Powered by the Apocalypse games at magpiegames.com. Finally, we're proud to be sponsored by Roll. Roll is an online RPG platform that serves as a video-first alternative to complex virtual tabletops. Build, modify, and play your very own games of Godkiller on Roll today at playroll.com.